So, what if you could actually find an exit door from, well, reality itself? That's the wild idea we're digging into today. This is an explainer on the core concepts from Sol Luckman's book, Out Through the Indoor, which is basically a guide to what he calls the ultimate escape. You've probably heard this line before, right? There must be some kind of way out of here. We're kicking off with this because it just nails the central theme of the book. It's all about that search for a way out, a real exit from the reality we know. The author is essentially asking, is there a back door?
And that question leads us straight to the author's main idea. He's not just asking if there's a way out. He's suggesting that it's totally possible to leave what he describes as this matrix-like reality, and to do it with your consciousness, your sense of self, completely intact. This isn't just fading to black, it's a one-way trip he's dubbed the ultimate hero's journey.
Okay, so when you hear hero's journey, you're probably thinking of Joseph Campbell, right? But this is different, and this is the key distinction. Campbell's journey, the one we see in so many stories, is a circle. The hero goes out, has an adventure, and then comes back home to share what they've learned with their community. The author's ultimate hero's journey, though, that's a one-way street. It's a solo ticket out of the system for good. And let's be super clear about something. According to the author, this has nothing to do with traditional ideas like heaven or hell or reincarnation. The goal here is something else. It's a kind of individual immortality, a conscious escape that's meant to break the cycle completely. Okay, so before we can really talk about the exit, we have to understand the prison we're supposedly in. The author lays out a classic problem/solution narrative, and this next part is all about the problem.
So, the book refers to our reality as the Matrix. But here's the twist. It wasn't originally built to be a prison. The idea is that it started as a neutral system, a kind of blank canvas, that was then hijacked, taken over by some kind of predatory force for its own parasitic reasons.
So who's the hijacker? Well, the author calls it the dragon. And no, we're not talking about a creature with wings and scales breathing fire. This is described as something much older, a kind of primordial consciousness. A cosmic mind parasite that, according to the text, actually installed our mental operating system specifically to keep us trapped.
But why? What's the point of all this? Well, the author says it all comes down to one thing: fuel. The book uses the slang term louche, which is basically stolen human energy. The whole idea is that this dragon entity literally feeds on the intense emotional energy we produce, especially from things like manufactured conflict, fear, and trauma.
All right, that's a pretty grim picture of the problem, right? So let's pivot to the solution. And as the title here suggests, the only way out is in. This is a really critical point the author makes. Before you can even think about building up the personal power you'd need for this kind of journey, you have to stop wasting the energy you already have. You can't fill a well that's full of holes.
The main tool for this is a shamanic concept called not doing. It sounds simple, but it's not always easy. It's the practice of figuring out what activities are draining your life force, and then just stopping, unplugging from them. And here are some really practical examples from the book. We're talking about consciously stopping things like doom scrolling for hours, or staying in a job that just sucks the life out of you, or pouring your energy into negative, toxic relationships. It's all about reclaiming your power by, funny enough, strategically choosing to do nothing.
So once you've started plugging those energy leaks, you can begin to build your toolkit. Let's get into the specific technologies, as the author calls them, that you need for this journey. First on the list is the Philosopher's Stone. And you can just forget everything you've seen in movies. In this framework, it's not a magical rock, it's described as an internal energy battery, almost a hyperdimensional one, that you build inside your own body by gathering and storing your life force. The next tool in the kit is the Dreambody. Now you can think of this as a kind of etheric vehicle. It's a perfected, idealized version of yourself that you literally create with your imagination. The whole point is for it to be the vessel that carries your consciousness after you leave your physical body. Okay, but how do you actually build one? The author lays out a pretty specific 4-step visualization process. First, you create what he calls a mental chamber in your mind. Then you focus on the inner wall. That's basically the screen of your closed eyelids. Step 3, you project an image of your ideal self onto that screen. And last, you just keep focusing on that image, perfecting it and pouring energy into every little detail. All right, let's talk about the end game. How does all of this, the Philosopher's Stone, the Dreambody, how does it all come together? What's the ultimate goal here?
And this is the climax of the whole idea. The author's ultimate goal is to achieve a conscious, chosen death. The idea is that at that exact moment, you use the massive energy stored in your Philosopher's Stone to power the transfer of your consciousness into your perfected dream body. This, in theory, allows you to completely transcend the system and achieve a kind of individual immortality.
So that leaves us with one final, big idea from the book. The author sees us all as Imagineers, people with the incredible power to literally dream reality into being. And if that's true, then the big question isn't just about how you might leave this world, it's about what new world you'll choose to dream up.